क्वसूर्यः प्रभवो वंशः क्वचाल्प विषयामतिः तितीर्षु दुस्तरं मोहात् उडुपेनास्मि सागरम. This verse by Kalidas in his magnum opus Raghuvamsham talks about the mere intellect which Kalidas had. That is, as a poet, he expresses his sorrow or anguish and he says, with my little intellect, how will I be able to describe the achievements of all the kings of Raghuvamsham? It is just like a person who says, with a mere log of food, I will be able to swim across the entire ocean. Hence, reflecting the similar thought, I feel that I will not be able to do justice to this great epic called as Ramayana. Yet, for the interest that I have towards our Sanskrit scriptures, our Sanatana Dharma, I would try to share whatever little I have been bestowed by my acharyas and by my preceptors. To talk about Dasharath, here are the verses which Valmiki says, Dirgadarshi Mahateja Paurajanav Padav Priyaha. Here are the beautiful verses expressed by Valmiki on this great king Dasharath. Dirgadarshi Mahatejaha Paurajanav Padav Priyaha Tasyam Puryam Ayodhyayam Vedavit Sarvasangraha Yatha Munir Mahateja Lokasya Parirakshita Tatha Dasharatho Maharaja Lokasya Parirakshita. Like how a mother and a father would take care of their children, likewise Dasharath was such a great administrator who did not think that his praja, the people, his subjects, were different from his children. He thought his subjects to be his own children and he ruled over them. He ensured that he always gave the right things to them at the right time. If they would commit mistakes, he would punish them. But if they would repent for what mistake they have committed, he would forgive. For people who would commit crime, he would be the poison. But for people who committed crime and later felt that what they have done is wrong, he would be their medicine. So, being a poison and medicine, being a good administrator, being the one who grants people what they want at the right time, were the duties of a good administrator, and Dasharath was very much a good administrator. He had 8 ministers. It is very important that the person who rules always has people who guide him in the right way around him. The ministers should be as good as the king. Even if one minister is bad, he will see to it that there is a ruin in the kingdom. There were 8 ministers, very able ministers, ministers who thought the same like Dasharath, ministers who guided the king in the right way. They were 8 in number. Drishtihi, Jayantaha, Vijayaha, Surashtraha, Rashtravardhanaha, Akopaha, Dharmapalaha and Sumantraha. Sumantra was interestingly a minister as well as a good charioteer to the king Dasharath. There were 8 counselors, Vasishthaha, Vamadevaha, Suyagnaha, Jabalihi, Kashyapaha, Gautamaha, Markandeyaha and Katyayanaha. They were all the 8 counselors. There were 8 ministers in the court of Dasharath. Interestingly, there was one minister who was also the charioteer to Dasharath. He was Sumantra. Let's see who the other 7 ministers were. Drishtihi, Jayantaha, Vijayaha, Surashtraha, Rashtravardhanaha, Akopaha, Dharmapalaha, and of course the 8th one was Sumantra. There were 8 counselors. The counselors were none but the Brahmin priests who always used to guide the king in the right direction. Vasishthaha, Vamadevaha, Suyagnaha, Jabalihi, Kashyapaha, Gautamaha, Markandeyaha and Katyayanaha. They were the 8 counselors to King Dasharath. Why did he get the name Dasharath? It's very interesting. Dasha in Sanskrit means 10. Rathaha means the chariot. The king who could drive or ride his chariot in all the 10 directions. 10 directions? What are they? In our Sanatana Dharma, we speak of 7 worlds above. Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. These are the 7 worlds above. there are 7 worlds beneath: Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, Patala. There are 7 above, 7 below. 7 plus 7 together constitute the 14 worlds we speak of. All these 14 worlds are in a cosmic egg called as Brahmandam. Now, when we speak about the 10 directions, we need to get into a little of the mathematics. There is the y-axis, there is the x-axis. This is two-dimensional in nature. So, let's see what are the 8 directions in this two-dimensional figure. There is the west, there is the east, there is the north, there is the south. There is the northeast, there is the northwest. There is the southeast, there is the southwest. East, west, north, south. Northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. Together you have 8 directions. And now when you think of the 3-dimensional plane, you have the x-axis, you have the y-axis, and you have the z-axis. So you have 1 above and minus z, which is 1 beneath. So you have 8 directions in the 2-dimensional plane, and you have 2 in the 3-dimensional, which is 1 above and 1 beneath. 8 plus 2, which is 10, and all these 10 directions is what I have described. Now Dasharath was a king who could ride his chariot in all the 10 directions. Hence he is called as Dasharatha. How is it possible for one single person to drive in all the 10 directions? Surprisingly, people have also said that Dasharath was a king who could drive his chariot in all the 10 directions simultaneously. Simultaneously, all the 10 directions? How is it possible? Here, when we say the word simultaneously, it's nothing but an exaggeration of the fact that Dasharath was very capable of driving his chariot. When driving the chariot is an art, it is very important how the charioteer is actually able to take his chariot in the right direction. Dasharath was not only a king who could drive in all the 10 directions, but he was also a person who could guide his subjects in the right direction. But Dasharath, being such a nice king, he was not bestowed with a son. He was not blessed with a son. Now comes the question, why having a daughter is also as great a joy as a son? Why is it that you speak only of a son? See, the word putraha in Sanskrit is a very interesting word which denotes a son. Pun narakam trayati iti putraha. There is one particular netherworld, probably you can call it the hell, which is called as Pun Narakam. That particular Narakalok is called as Pun. It seems to a couple when a son is born, the father, the one who has turned into a father, jumps into that particular lake or jumps into a pond, and after having known that he is now a father, the water that comes from his body splashes above, and when it splashes, it seems it reaches his forefathers, and his forefathers now say, "You have now blessed us with a great progeny to this generation, and you have blessed us by not reaching this particular Naraklok called as Pun." Since this child prevents his forefathers from reaching a particular Naraklok called as Pun, he is called as Putraha in Sanskrit. So Putraha is a word which denotes Pun Narakam Trayati iti Putraha, the one who prevents his forefathers from reaching a particular Naraklok called as Pun, and hence he is called Putraha. Now may come a question, why a daughter is also as important and significant as a son? To which, why then say that it is only the son who prevents his forefathers from reaching the particular Naraklok called as Pun? Isn't it a daughter as well? To which all our forefathers have given one unanimous answer. They have said, only after the son is born will the father realize that the hell would have been a better choice than the son himself. So it is a daughter who is also as equivalent as the son in our Sanatana Dharma. Our religion, our Hinduism, our Sanatana Dharma never ever speaks of women of less caliber or importance as men. Probably it goes one step higher and says that women are greater than men. It is for that reason that in the sin sharing process in a couple between a husband and the wife, whatever sins are committed by the wife, half of it goes to the husband, and whatever punya, good deeds, the husband has performed or has accrued, half of it goes to the wife. It's not the vice versa. Half of the husband's sins do not come to the wife. Half of the lady's punya doesn't go to the husband. It is the other way. It is the husband's punya which goes to the wife, and wife's sins that go to a husband. So, Vedas have always given more importance to women, and our Sanatana Dharma has always regarded women of greater caliber and importance than men. Here, when Dasharath worries that he has not had a son and why he did not have a daughter, comes a question. Please don't ever feel that he gave more importance to sons, because he already had daughters even before the birth of Ram. And it is one such daughter that he gets married to a sage called as Rishyashring. While Dasharath was contemplating as to why he did not have a son, his council of ministers said, "Why don't you perform a Ashwamedha Mahayagnya?" To which the verse reads, "Mamalalapya manasya sutartham nasti vai sukham tadartham hayamedhena yakshyamiti matirmama." Hey king, you need to perform the horse sacrifice, the horse yajna called as Ashwamedha Mahayagnya or Hayamedha Mahayagnya, and at the end of it you may see a certain sign of good hope that you may have a son. And Dasharath, who would regard the words of his ministers, now said, "Let me perform that yajna, and by God's grace I should be bestowed and blessed with a son." Let's see how he performed this yajna, whom he invited for this purpose, and how the child was born. Thank you.